Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki don tok say im plan for government na to create ogbonge way wey go ready Edo State for the future. Obaseki tok dis one for the closing tok for the day 2 of the Technical and Vocational Education and Training (TVET) wey dey shele for Benin City. Obaseki tok say time don reach for Naija to chook mouth yarn wetin the education for the country dey about. Obaseki say Naija dey crisis and we no go fit continue to dey import the way we dey do so.
My first port of call as governor was to the Benin Technical College. And that was significant. And so what we're seeing today is not a coincidence. For us, it's a belief. It is what we've always aspired for. So I'm so glad coming into this room today and seeing that we've been able to assemble all of you, stakeholders in our educational system in Nigeria, to come and workshop and think through very, very carefully what the main plank of our education should be about. We are evolving a new country. The demographics of our country is very young, and it's a lot of young people. I mean, an army of very, very many young people. So the thinking on education has to be radically different. Secondly, we are in a crisis as a country. We've talked about this, the upturned time. 200 million people going to the population of 500 million in another 2 decades means that we can't continue to exist the way we're doing. Where we practically import everything we need for our sustenance. We don't have the money to import at the level we used to. So we must now begin to produce more of what we consume. It's a paradigm shift. And you cannot do that without ensuring that there are certain fundamental planks of our existence that must shift. So what we're doing now is one that we have no option. For people who haven't realized it, I don't understand how they're thinking. We have no option. Because you can't have 200, going 300 million people who import practically everything. The clothes they wear, the house they live, even the food they eat. Our import bill for milk and milk-based products is in excess of $500 million a year. That's just one product. So now we don't have a foreign exchange, what do we do? So the thinking must change. And the thinking has to change by us now begin to realize that it's only us that can produce what we need. And begin to train our children in that light. So it's not about going to school and acquiring certificates. It's about education for your survival and sustenance. That's why TVET is critical for us.
Obaseki wey tok say Naija get private sector wey tanda wella, come still tok say no be only for government to build technical schools, but for government to know their role for this technical education matter.
Unfortunately for us, because we have neglected and abandoned the whole process of training in terms of TVET for a long time, we have to play catch-up. Fortunately, we have a thriving private sector. And this is one aspect of education that cannot be left exclusively with government. Because who are you training TVET students for? It's for them to produce for the industry. But we have to be careful the way we look at it. That's why going through this strategy document, I was quite excited. So it's not only about government creating technical schools. It's about government setting the environment, the regulatory environment. Yes, you can operate, you can be an operator in that sector, but our principal ethos should be, how do we make sure that we create an educational environment where people are encouraged to focus more on TVET than what they used to do. That's what this strategy is speaking to. What should be our role as government? Mr. Meme talked about curriculum. And she says, look, for what us today, they come and say, oh, this is what you should do. We just do it just to satisfy the requirement, not because the curriculum government has set is relevant to that process. So it's important that we begin to understand the relevance of TVET and make sure that the whole stream, everything we've worked through in this strategy document is aligned to achieve what we want to achieve, relevance. This is not one business that government can and should dominate. No. Yes, we'll have our 20 or 30 or so schools, but maybe these are just pilot schools. What we are doing is we are working with the federal government, emphasizing on the teacher training. I was able to persuade the president, thanks to him, that he's given us Federal College of Education to train teachers for TVET. We converted the CAD law to that. But we are very excited about the role of job centers, both job centers that we will encourage and job centers that many of you are currently running. I was talking to the commissioner and I said, look, honestly, why can't we in Benin Technical College, for instance, have enough workshops and equipment such that that kid who has been training to be an auto mechanic or to do, in a vehicle market, before he gets his freedom, can come to that school and get some certification to go out before he begins to handle vehicles. So that linkage must be there. We must think through all the key areas that we as government see that we want to grow. The strategy that we are working on must think through what our national standards should be. Let me thank Tobias and all our friends from GIC. They took us to Germany for a week, and we went through the whole German production system, and to see the emphasis on apprenticeships. Because every society, most societies, are based on small businesses. But those small businesses must not operate in isolation of government. We, as government, must spend more time understanding how these businesses survive. And that our role is to train people, human capacity, to support them so that they can be sustained.
Obaseki comes to here and say him government ready to create plan wey go help guide the state go where the state dey go, and he comes to here on some important sectors to get better results.
What we have promised Edo people is that unlike what we met, our successors will have a plan for the future. That this is where we are going. So over the next 30 years, this is where we are going and this is where Edo should be. For us, believe it or not, mining is key because it gives us the raw materials for production. And we are the 4th state in this country with the most number of mining licenses. We have a growing number of Chinese companies here today who are here because they can get the key raw materials they need for production of whatever they're producing, whether it's ceramic tiles, whether it's steel, So mining is key. Fabrication is important. Furniture, water, electricity, construction, agriculture, manufacturing. These are areas we as a government, just like you put it your TVET strategy in place, we're putting in place strategy for each of these areas because those are areas of growth. And for us to achieve our strategic plan, our 30-year strategic plan, it's not going to be driven by spirits. It will be driven by us. In all of this, we want to, as government, we don't want to take our eyes off the ball. We can't be everything. So we'll isolate those areas that we need to make the investments in to make the strategy work. And 3 areas we see which we focus on. First is energy, electricity, because electricity just helps you accelerate, TVET. So as government, we're partnering, we're fortunate to be a gas-rich state, and we're partnering with institutions to see how we can generate and distribute more electricity across our state. And we believe that we're on the right path. Today, this state will generate in excess of 1,000 megawatts. All we need to do is work through making sure that we keep them here.
Obaseki kan yan how Edo take day for internet matter for Nigeria.
As part of the strategy, I was hearing you talk about rural. How do you make sure you train people where they live? So you've got to connect them. And I'm pleased to inform you that part of our strategy is to make Edo a smart state. And today, we can proudly boast of the fact that we have the most internet connection in Nigeria. Benin City alone has over 400 kilometers of fiber. And Edo State is inching towards 1,200 kilometers of fiber. Last week, we just finished a transaction where every local government in Edo State will be connected with fiber before the end of August this year. So that means that we're investing in that base infrastructure for technology, because you cannot think of TVET without thinking ICT. Finally, it's all about people. We can dream as much as we can, but people must make those dreams happen. And from what we have seen working with Edo Best, the people that make dreams happen in education are the teachers. Where are the pre-service teachers? Yes, the master craftsmen will help us, like many of you are here. You can help train a few, but we need to emphasize pre-service teachers who understand how to prepare the minds of these children to think TVET, to think production. Like I said, as we started, we have a College of Education, but we need to make sure that we emphasize and prepare the curriculum for training those people who will train these number of children.
Omo Aluke Ajakaye, TMC TV News. Make una remember say your PVC na be your power. No sell am give any politician on election day.